Good evening. This is going to be strange. This is the mop-up for April 15th, 2023. Now, some of you already know that I'm very good friends with Donald and Melania Trump. Very close. We don't agree on most things, but we are dear, dear, dear friends. We correspond all the time. Donald Trump sent me a letter, but it is a letter dated December 22nd, 2024. This has happened to me before, where I've received letters from the future. I don't know. I said, Donald, can I read this? He said, go ahead. And he said he remembers writing it because he timed. I don't understand what's going on, these wormholes, but all I can tell you is Donald sent me a copy of a letter that he wrote from a Birmingham jail dated December 22nd, 2024. I'm going to read it as written. I assume this is Donald Trump. It is from the future. That's all I can tell you. I can't tell you how I received it. This is a letter from Donald Trump. It's a letter from a Birmingham jail dated December 22nd, 2024. This would be, a year and a half from now. He writes, this is Donald Trump. Merry Christmas. And for you people of color, happy holidays. That sounds like Trump, doesn't it? I hope 2025 brings you joy. It's 2024, right? 2025 would be right around the corner since it's December 22nd. This is weird. Okay, he writes, my fellow Americans, it is I, Donald Trump, writing to you from a Birmingham jail where I await sentencing after being unfairly convicted of some minor offenses like treason, rape, money laundering, rape, tax evasion, sexual assault, election interference, more rape, bribery, rape, along with rape, and rape. Total witch hunt. He goes on to write, never before in the history of America's criminal justice system has someone been treated this poorly. I feel like Sacco and Vanzetti, if Sacco and Vanzetti were innocent, which they were not. Innocent people don't have accents. I don't know what that means. And yet, he goes on to write, everyone feels sorry for Sacco and Vanzetti. People call them martyrs, not Trump. I like martyrs who don't end up dead. Joan of Arc, loser, and a 2 at best. Well, that's not nice to say about Joan. He goes on to write, more like Joan of Bark, if you catch my drift, and if you don't catch my drift, I'm saying she's a dog because that's what dogs do. They bark. Joan of Bark. Yeah, this is definitely from Donald Trump. He goes on to write, jail, like Joan of Bark, is not pretty. The drinking water is brackish, the paint is peeling, and the air conditioning doesn't work. I can't believe my name isn't on the place. I've met, however, some interesting people. Yesterday, I joined a gang of white supremacists who call themselves the Republicans. Although I spend most of my time in solitary, I am never alone. Well, that's sweet. He goes on to write, the spirits of Dr. King, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, are all those other lightweights who don't deserve a national holiday are with me right now. Dr. King, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, and all those other lightweights who don't deserve a national holiday are with me right now. They're telling me they can't believe how great I'm holding up. Frankly, it's a little embarrassing. Gandhi just said my hunger strike is like nothing he's ever seen before. 30 minutes and only a party-sized bag of grandma's peanut butter cookies and a Capri Sun apple juice box. That's all I've had for the last 30 minutes of my hunger strike. Gandhi can't believe my willpower. And the spirit of Dr. King is also with me. Dr. Lester King, who kept me out of Vietnam by inventing a condition known as bone spurs. I didn't know that. And then, of course, Nelson Mandela is with me, which is somewhat surprising because he and I didn't always see eye to eye on things like apartheid. But there he is, Nelson Mandela. I didn't know you could wear those stupid loud shirts in the afterlife. That is not right. He goes on to write, apparently you can. I was hoping heaven had a dress code, but just like the last days of studio, they seem to be attracting that bridge and tunnel crowd. Okay. Trump goes on to write, if I can impart any wisdom about the joint, I guess that would be the Birmingham jail. If I can impart any wisdom about the joint, it is don't become anyone's bitch. I've heard this. He said, goes on to write, that's why my first day in the yard, I looked for the toughest looking guy, and in front of everyone I said, what are you looking at? And then I proceeded to beat the living crap out of him just to show everyone I'm not to be trifled with. I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt because naturally the toughest guy in the yard was me, Donald Trump. It's not easy kicking your own ass. Wow. So he looked for the toughest guy in the yard and he had to beat himself up. Wow. I must leave you now. It is already mid-December, December 22nd, 2024. I must leave you now. It's already mid-December, and my inauguration is almost a month away, and I still haven't picked an attorney general. I'm thinking of nominating this Alex Murdaugh guy I just met. He's a lawyer who tells me he specializes in violent crime. That is Donald Trump's letter from a Birmingham jail dated December 22nd, 2024. Make of this what you want. This is a letter from the future. It's creepy. It's creepy. If you're watching me live right now, I want to invite you to office hours, which starts roughly in 20 minutes at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. An evening with Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump will be joining me, and you can meet Donald Trump. It might be Robert Smigel. I think it's Donald Trump. The people who book the show tell me it's Robert Smigel, but I spoke to Trump, and doesn't sound like Robert Smigel. It sounds like Donald Trump. So Donald J. Trump. It's going to be an evening with Donald J. Trump, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we'll also be joined by the professors in Marianne. Professor Marianne Cummings, Professor Adnan Hussein will be recording a segment for my podcast. And the Donald Trump is recording a segment for my podcast. I do office hours every Friday night at 8 p.m. on Zoom. If you're listening to this on YouTube, the link, the Zoom link is in the description of the show right now. I will put it in the chat room. I try to make myself available to all the listeners every Friday night from about 8 till 9:30 via Zoom, office hours. Go to my website for the link if you can't find it in the description. And if you subscribe to my newsletter, the link is there. It's a Zoom link, but you don't need Zoom. You can dial in. They give you phone numbers to dial in. So I look forward to meeting you in a couple of minutes at office hours. Robert Smigel or Donald Trump will be there. You can ask Donald Trump some questions, and you can also talk with Professor Marianne Cummings and Professor Adnan Hussein. And I'll take your questions and calls if you want to talk about the show, what you like, what you don't like. I can't imagine anybody having any complaints. Or if you just want to talk about what's going on in the news, you want me to know something, read something, please share this episode. Please like it. It's a short one, but please like it. Please subscribe to my channel. I always say this, and it's the truth. The only reason you're listening to me right now is because one of your friends copied and pasted the link to an episode and shared it via social media or in an email. If you enjoyed any part of this episode and you want to thank me, the best way is to share it with your friends. That is the best way to help. Have a great weekend. I'm David Feldman, reminding you to stay strong and protect the weak. And I hope to see you tonight at office hours.